Every time I swim, I have to race a penguin. If I lose, I have to go fishing for the polar bear and the penguin. All because that fortune teller told me, I have a love-obsessed brain. To cure it completely, I must stay in a place of extreme cold for 100 days. I couldn't be bothered to overthink it. I just bought a ticket straight to the Arctic. But when I stood on the glacier, my body felt as hot as if I were next to a furnace. I refused to believe it. So I went ahead and carved a natural bathtub into the glacier. I jumped right in. But even though I stripped down to just my bikini and soaked myself in the icy water, like a chilled watermelon, I still felt as hot as if I were on a sunny Hawaiian beach. That's when a transoceanic call came through. On the other end of the line was my boyfriend's frantic roar. Lin Qian. Where are you? I don't care where you are. Get your ass back here now. Yao Yao is about to freeze into a popsicle at home. Looking at the video, I saw Su Yao with frost on her eyebrows, shivering uncontrollably. I couldn't help but feel a secret thrill. I let out a cold laugh and hung up. I've waited 2 lifetimes for this moment. In my past life, my boyfriend's adopted sister, Su Yao, used a system to forcibly swap our sense of touch. That's how she could go out in 45-degree heat, where even the ground was scorching, in that kind of weather, to a construction site, under the blazing sun, delivering water and food to the workers, doing good deeds, without sweating a single drop from start to finish, and no one found it strange. She was outside, being praised like a star. Meanwhile, I was in an air-conditioned room, set to its lowest, 16 degrees, suffering from heatstroke until I passed out. It wasn't until right before I died that I realized I was suffering for Su Yao. Su Yao was enjoying life in my place. All of this was a scheme by my boyfriend and his adopted sister. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn. I was back on the day my boyfriend's adopted sister started her high-temperature charity act. Remembering my miserable death in my past life, I immediately turned around and signed up for an Arctic research tourism group. In my past life, she made me endure the scorching heat of the sun. In this life, I'll make her endure the sub-zero extreme cold. Since our sense of touch is swapped, then this scorching weather means nothing to me. It's completely useless. Naturally, I don't need to escape the heat. So I simply changed into a set of thickened autumn and winter athletic wear. I went out to get some sun. Outside was a literal furnace. The asphalt road was warped from the heat. Heat waves rippled through the air. I was dressed in full autumn and winter gear, with a scarf wrapped around me. Ignoring the strange looks from passers-by, I stood in the wide open square with no shade, but I couldn't feel a single trace of the sweltering heat. I was absolutely loving it. Su Yao, this 40+ degree weather, the pain from my past life, you finally get to feel it. I bet it won't be long before my boyfriend, who always uses being busy as an excuse to never come home, shows up in front of me. Lin Qian, what are you doing outside? Just as expected, while I was still wondering what Su Yao must be feeling right now, a familiar figure stood before me, panting. Gu Ting knows, Su Yao and I have swapped senses. The stifling heat and suffocation I'm experiencing under the scorching sun, Su Yao is feeling it all, exactly as I am. I pretended not to hear him, and continued sunbathing. In my past life, he and Su Yao never missed a chance to badmouth me behind my back. So I'm taking this chance to get a little payback first. Why are you wearing fall and winter clothes? Standing in the sun. What's going on today? Come back inside with me, now. I yanked my hand away from his. Looking at his hypocritical face, I couldn't help but feel sick to my stomach. Isn't it Su Yao who always says, I never go to work, just stay home with the AC on? And wasn't it you who insisted I stay home every day, never letting me out? A flicker of shock crossed Gu Ting's face. So I decided to follow his example. I can't let her be the only one outside, braving this heat. I should come out and get some sun too. This time, he stood there frozen, looking deeply uncomfortable, because he must have never expected that the secret complaints Su Yao whispered to him about me would be repeated by me, word for word. Girls these days are really out of their minds, wearing so many layers, sunbathing in this scorching heat. Your man is looking out for you, and you bite back. Kid, this woman is ungrateful. She deserves a good smack. Right now, he must be thinking, I'll obediently follow him home. I snorted coldly. The uncles and aunties are right. I am crazy. I started stretching right there. The neighbors nearby, looking at me like I was a lunatic, all scattered away in dismay. I grabbed Gu Ting's hand, and, before he could react to what I was doing, started dragging him into a run under the blazing sun. I imagined what Su Yao must be feeling right now. From a comfortably air-conditioned room, to being drenched in sweat, Su Yao is definitely going to throw another tantrum at Gu Ting, and complain about me, seeing how stubborn I was. Gu Ting simply stopped pretending. He pointed a trembling finger at me. Lin Qian, I think you've really fried your brain in the sun. With that, he turned and left. He must be going to check on Su Yao. In my past life, just a little sun in this weather nearly took half my life. Seeing me go to such extremes, he's probably afraid Su Yao can't take it anymore. After all the suffering is being transferred to Su Yao. Before I could finish my thought, Su Yao's call came through. Lin Qian, have you lost your mind? How did you even get out of the house? Her face, which had light makeup, was now red as a beetroot. Her hair was plastered wetly to her forehead, and she looked like she'd just been fished out of water, gasping for breath heavily, clearly suffering from my antics. Seeing her pathetic state, I couldn't help but smile. I covered my mouth in feigned surprise, and said with a coy laugh, "Yao Yao, did you just finish a workout? What's with the sudden concern today?" Suyao was so angry, she could barely get her words out, even through the screen. I could feel it, she was about to explode. I felt a secret thrill. I kept twisting the knife. What a coincidence. I was just exercising too, running under the sun, sweating a bit, feels pretty good, but it's strange today. I don't feel the heat. At that moment, Suyao completely lost it. "Lin Xian, you're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Trying to kill me with heat." Hearing that, "Since you're dropping the act, I'll lay my cards on the table too." I wiped the smile off my face, staring at her on the phone. "Suyao, since you know everything, if you don't want to be cooked alive, I suggest you swap our sense of touch back now, otherwise, I'll make your life miserable." Suyao on the other end of the screen seemed to freeze up. She didn't answer for a long time, just stood there, stunned. I saw her guilt, but soon, her eyes turned venomous again. She hung up the call. I was still savoring the secret satisfaction of making that little darling suffer in silence, when I suddenly felt a slight chill on my skin. The sun was still blazing, but the temperature I felt had become much more comfortable. This round, looks like Suyao conceded, so I let her off. Back home, as soon as I entered, Gu Ting's face was once again wearing that fake mask of doting affection. He handed me a glass of ice water. "Honey, what's going on today? Going out to exercise in this scorching heat? Here, have some water." I looked at the water, frowning deeply. Suyao must have told him everything. In my past life, it was after drinking this water that I lost my life. Seeing my hesitation, Gu Ting didn't give me a chance to react. All I heard was a dull thud in my head, and then I lost consciousness. I woke up lying in an unfamiliar, lavishly decorated room. Looking out the window, there was an endless expanse of mountain forest. The previous oppressive heat was gone from the air. In the room, a screen read, "Constant 25 degrees Celsius. Gu Ting, for Suyao's sake, you really went to great lengths, moving me to such a cool place. With this 24-hour climate control, are you planning to keep me imprisoned here forever?" The door opened. Gu Ting walked in. Today, he dressed like the epitome of a wolf in sheep's clothing. To be able to do something so cruel to his own girlfriend, and look so relaxed. I guess I never really knew him before. "Everyone's waiting for you. Get up and come out with me." Before I could react, he dragged me out. Outside was a huge outdoor swimming pool. Everyone present was one of Gu Ting's lowlife friends. They were all scanning me with their eyes. The way they looked at me made me extremely uncomfortable. Their gazes were full of lewdness and violation. A man chewing gum spoke with a grin. His gaze roamed over my body without restraint. "Hey, sis-in-law's awake. Thanks for the hospitality, sis-in-law." I was completely stunned. Why was I the one hosting? I looked at Gu Ting, utterly confused. Just then, a bank notification on my phone reminded me. It reminded me that all of this was paid for with the family card I gave him. I never would have imagined that giving to him would end up being my own undoing. Gu Ting ignored my question completely. He leaned close to my ear, his voice gentle. "Honey, seeing how much you've been stirring up trouble lately, I arranged a little surprise for you." Then his expression changed. He gave me a hard shove. Caught off guard, I fell into the icy pool. The bone-chilling water enveloped me instantly. So he planned to just dunk me in the water to cool Suyao down. I instinctively tried to climb out, but Gu Ting jumped in after me. He pinned my shoulders down hard, holding me under the water. Finally, his gentle mask was completely torn off, revealing a vicious, sinister face. "Lin Xian, since you figured it all out, I can't be bothered to keep up the act. Starting this month, you'll stay put right here in the water." Seeing this, the other men actually walked over carrying buckets of ice. Laughing weirdly, they poured it into the water around me. "Sis-in-law, we heard you've been feeling hot. We're here to cool you down." Ha 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 ha. The men kept making disgusting comments. Gu Ting finally spoke up to stop them. "Enough." Gu Ting looked down at me from above. A twisted flicker of pity flashed in his eyes. "Just be good, honey. Stop making a fuss. It'll be over soon." In my past life, after I died, my body rotted. My soul floated above, unable to move. 2 months after my death, my bedroom door was finally opened. Suyao covered her nose, her face full of disgust, and had someone take my body away. System, cancel the sensory exchange now. "Lin Xian, oh Lin Xian. Your greatest purpose in this life was to help me become a multi-million follower influencer. Now that I've succeeded, it's time for you to bow out." Only then did I realize that all the abnormalities in my body were caused by her. Once she became an influencer, she'd switch back with me. "It'll be over soon." I refuse. "Gu Ting, my biggest regret in this life was falling in love with you. Alright, time's about up." Gu Ting looked at me coldly. He directed his cronies to drag me out of the water. I was thrown hard into a damp, dark room. It was so empty, even my voice echoed. Gu Ting's voice echoed from outside the thick iron door. "Since you can't behave and stay put at home, Then rot here. You brought this on yourself. Feeling utterly unsafe, I hugged myself tightly. I curled my legs up. Right now, I hated the part of me that ever loved Gu Ting. I don't know how long passed. In the room, Su Yao's voice suddenly echoed. I looked around. I looked up and saw a flickering TV screen. Su Yao looked smug. Her words were full of sarcasm. Lin Qian, I heard you went to the resort. I'm so jealous. I have to work under the blazing sun, but at least I have you to cool me down. Every word Su Yao said now felt like a red-hot needle stabbing into me. Su Yao looked at me through the camera. A cruel smile curled at the corner of her mouth. Still don't get it. In Gu Ting's heart, you don't matter one bit. What a shame, a CEO with a love-struck brain, chasing after Gu Ting. Without you, we wouldn't be where we are today. I frowned tightly. So that's how it was. At this moment, all those past inconsistencies flashed through my mind. The first time I went to Gu Ting's house, Su Yao hid in her room and wouldn't come out. Her parents awkwardly explained, saying she was just being childish. I actually believed it. Later, I would buy Su Yao gifts every time we went shopping, hoping to improve our relationship, but she threw them all in the trash. Every time I followed Gu Ting to gatherings with his small circle of friends, those friends all harbored a subtle malice towards me. I never thought that even after being reborn, I still couldn't change my fate. I still couldn't outwit this lovely pair. Amidst the deathly silence of the basement, I completely gave up hope. As I slowly waited for my fate to end, the diamond bracelet my grandfather left me glimmered faintly. I lowered my head. I looked at my left wrist, at that seemingly ordinary diamond bracelet. I suddenly remembered its origin. My grandfather, on his deathbed, gave this bracelet to me. He could no longer protect me. He told me if I ever faced any danger in the future, to hold this bracelet tightly. I would surely see hope. I examined it closely. On the bracelet, there was a very small black button. This was my last chance. I pressed it firmly. After seeing hope, the desire to escape reignited in my heart. I kept chanting, come save me, come save me. After a long time, the iron door slowly opened. Blinding sunlight flooded the room. A figure with an unclear silhouette picked me up and rescued me from this strange place. Now, I was standing on an icebreaker heading to the Arctic. Su Yao, thousands of miles away, must have sensed something was wrong by now. The hatch opened. The icy wind cut into my face like a knife. This was the center of the Arctic. The surface temperature was negative 120 degrees. I was wearing thick polar expedition gear. In my hand, I held a cup of hot water that would freeze instantly. I knew I had come to the right place. I stripped off my heavy coat. I let every inch of my skin feel the Arctic cold. In my past life, I died from the heat in a 61-degree room. In this life, I really want to know what Su Yao looks like right now. The moment my phone regained signal, countless missed calls from Gu Ting popped up. I ignored them. Instead, I directly dialed a video call to Su Yao. It connected in less than a second. The screen showed chaos on the other end. Hi, surprise. Guess where I am? Hey. Guess where I am? I faced the camera, flashing the brightest smile of my life. Su Yao, on the other side of the ocean, was hugging her arms, but was still frozen like an ice sculpture. Gu Ting was like a madman, relentlessly accusing me in the video. Su Yao, trembling, held up her phone. Seeing me in a bikini at the North Pole, she broke down screaming. Put your clothes on, she snapped. Gu Ting started threatening to kill me. A cold smirk touched my lips. I was merely using the same tactics they used on me against them. Su Yao's arms were already covered in frostbite. Seeing she couldn't do anything to me, she tried to grab Gu Ting's arm for some comfort, but he shoved her away. He didn't believe I was at the North Pole at all. Instead, he thought I was hiding somewhere causing trouble, and stormed out to look for me. It seems, in Gu Ting's eyes, I'm still that weak. Looking at Su Yao, covered in wounds, I felt a flicker of pity, and put my coat back on. Su Yao, who had been curled up, recovered a bit. Lin Qian, you'd better come back right now. Don't forget our sense of touch is swapped. Otherwise, you're in for a world of hurt. The next second, to my surprise, she pressed against the camera with reddened eyes, threatening to kill me. I looked at her contemptuously, unmoved. Su Yao, I'm at the North Pole right now. As I spoke, I took off half of the coat I just put on, exposing part of my body. Su Yao clutched her shoulder, curling up on the ground in pain. I brush the snow and frost off me. I look around casually. The endless ice mountains and the freezing cold below zero have nothing to do with me. The Arctic isn't all that. I'm even sweating from the heat. Although Su Yao is curled up in pain, she's still venting her anger verbally, her resentment towards me. Lin Qian, just you wait. I'll make sure you die a horrible death. You really are a cold-blooded creature. This time, I have no intention in my heart to leave her any room. So I just pull my jacket's zipper all the way down. I neatly take off my jacket and toss it aside. I run my hand through my hair backward, putting on an expression of enjoyment. At that moment, Suyao starts screaming in pain on the video. Her body can't stop trembling. Frost instantly forms on her hair. Even her breath starts to turn icy. The scars on her arm begin to spread again. Suyao, can you turn the AC down a bit? I'm about to die from the heat. After saying that, I walk over to the carved bathtub. Sitting by the bathtub, I'm about to put my feet in. Then, Suyao's plea comes through the phone, because she also understands that if I soak in it again, she'll most likely lose her life. At this moment, Gu Ting runs in from behind Suyao, panting heavily. Suyao has already started begging, asking to cancel the tactile exchange with me. To cancel the exchange, first copy the tactile sense to Gu Ting, then we'll see. After hearing my terms, Gu Ting panicked. He knelt down and started defending himself. In my past life, I never saw him speak to me so humbly. Gu Ting kept facing the camera, confessing his wrongdoings. He was begging me to let him go, while pointing at Suyao on the couch, pinning all the blame on her. But now, I'm not interested in canceling the swapped senses. I held up my phone, filming the surroundings for them. Ending it now would only be a punishment for these two little darlings. Too light. Seeing Gu Ting's attitude, Suyao slapped Gu Ting across the face. The two started arguing in front of me. Suyao suddenly glared at Gu Ting fiercely, muttering under her breath. A blue screen-like interface flashed before her. This must be the system they were talking about. Suyao pointed at Gu Ting and said a few words, copying the system onto Gu Ting. Gu Ting turned around in shock. His eyelashes gradually began to frost over. Feeling the chill, he lunged at Suyao furiously. Gu Ting, like a madman, grabbed Suyao by the collar and slapped her across the face. But it was too late. Suyao let Gu Ting manhandle her, just sneered at him. White frost began to form on Gu Ting's hair. His breath started to turn into white mist. Frostbite, just like Suyao's, began to appear on his arms. The two of them grabbed each other's hair, tussling on the ground. Who would have thought in Antarctica we'd get a hair-pulling show? Watching these two cuties, through my phone, in a live brawl. One moment they were lovebirds, the next, mortal enemies. Since they're so heated, might as well cool them down. Without hesitation, I jumped into the ice hole in front of me. The two, still wrestling, suddenly sprang apart as if electrocuted. They scrambled to the phone, kneeling and begging me desperately. Seeing them kneeling side by side before the camera, in that moment, I felt an unprecedented satisfaction. So I agreed to Suyao's request, cutting off our tactile exchange, and hung up the call directly. Instantly, the Antarctic cold enveloped me. I picked up my clothes from the ground and put them back on. My Antarctic trip was over, just like that. But what I didn't know was, after I ended the video call, Gu Ting and Suyao had no intention of stopping. They started discussing how to deal with me. Gu Ting held Suyao tightly. After whispering to each other, a sinister glint flashed in their eyes. After returning home, I was at home, looking at the bright sunshine outside the window. I wondered why a bad person like Suyao would be granted an ability like the system. Suddenly, right before my eyes appeared the same blue screen that Suyao had. I rubbed my eyes, thinking it was a hallucination, but it didn't disappear. I tentatively thought the word system. The screen opened up again. I never expected that after Suyao voluntarily gave up the exchange, the initiative would transfer to me. Every function on the system listed its corresponding exchange condition. Curious, I chose the option that was most useful to me, yet had the lowest cost. Explore the future for 1 year, no exchange required. I washed some fruit, ready to just lie back and watch the script of my future life. The system began projecting in front of my eyes everything related to me in the coming year. My smile suddenly froze. The content unfolding before my eyes became more and more absurd. In summer, goosefeather snow suddenly falls. Before long, the outside world will be completely frozen. I simply shut down this system. That was talking nonsense. But the TV beside me suddenly started an emergency broadcast. Starting the day after tomorrow, temperatures will plummet to 10 degrees below zero. To be continued. I watched the emergency broadcast on TV, unable to believe it. It's clearly summer temperatures. How could it suddenly drop to 10 degrees below zero? I immediately called my parents in the countryside to confirm they had seen the same news as me, so the system's predictions were all true. I summoned the system and told it to continue the simulation. Images flashed before my eyes, frozen streets, ice sculptures everywhere, and chaotic looting. The place we lived had completely descended into an ungoverned zone. As far as the eye could see, there was only a vast expanse of white snow, utterly lifeless. Suddenly, I saw a chilling scene. I was lying on the cold ground, held at gunpoint by Gu Ting and Suyao, and finally, on the road, just like everyone else, turned into an ice sculpture. I started to worry, because this definitely wasn't 10 degrees below zero. That would cause such a scene. I quickly pressed for more details about this climate change, asking what the lowest temperature would be. The system spun in thought. Suddenly, glowing red numbers popped up on the screen. I looked at the minimum temperature before me, too shocked to speak. I pressed the system for more details. -120 degrees. The world we live in, what would it become? Your breath would freeze. Steel and concrete would shatter at a touch. Ice began to spread across the ground. People in down jackets, frozen solid inside their homes. These fleeting visions horrified me. The system provided me with a solution. My parents and I built an underground safe house together and lived there. The warehouse was stocked with supplies, enough to weather the harsh winter. I went downstairs and immediately drove to my parents' place in the countryside. After arriving at their rural home, I explained the situation to them. But they didn't seem to believe me. I summoned the system and showed them everything. My parents stared in shock. The system started the countdown. In the future, money will be worthless. My parents and I have 24 hours to sell all our assets and stockpile a year's worth of supplies. At the same time, we must build the safe house beneath us as our future shelter to withstand the coming apocalypse. My father immediately laid out the plan. I'll take the property deeds back to the city and sell everything we own, then exchange it for supplies and bring them back. My parents will stay here and start building the safe house. Mom rushed straight to the safe. She dumped everything inside. The property deeds, car keys, gold bars, onto the bed. Sweetie, your mission now is to sell all of this stuff. Fast. We need cash. I took a deep breath and opened my mobile banking app. No online loans. No overdrafts. This is the hard-earned money of 2 generations of our family. Every penny must be spent wisely. I drove to the biggest supermarket. Now it was time for my performance. I contacted the city's largest supermarket directly. I told them to deliver all the daily supplies I needed to a designated location. Not long after, trucks from the village formed a long line. The villagers watched us hauling in goods, truckload after truckload. They all gathered around to watch. Mr. Lin, you're not staying in your city house. Are you moving back to open a store? Ha, I was moving goods weighing dozens of pounds to avoid raising suspicion. I just said city life was too tough. I'm back home to do wholesale business. Seeing the strange looks from the crowd, I didn't feel embarrassed. Because in just a few days, our family will possess a mountain of gold and silver that will drive everyone crazy. To be continued. I was wiping the sweat off my brow, taking stock of the goods in front of me. A ton of snacks, a ton of self-heating hot pots, a ton of self-heating rice meals, a ton of canned luncheon meat, and a ton of drinks, cola, milk, and the like. Looking at this dazzling array of food and daily supplies piled mountain high, it was more than enough for the next 3 years. Just then, my mom suddenly ran over and said we had a problem. We were out of money. We hadn't bought the diesel generator for power yet. And we'd only bought half the cold weather gear. My heart sank. The most crucial things weren't even prepared. There was no time to dwell on it. Luckily, we had bought a few more of our trusty wooling vans earlier for hauling goods. They hadn't been driven for long, so they were practically brand new. I opened a used car trading app on my phone. Checked it out. Much. Thankfully, we wouldn't lose much. Checked it out. Thankfully, we wouldn't lose much. Then I glanced at the gold bracelet on my wrist. In the end, I sold all but the one I was wearing. Finally managed to get the diesel generator and the rest of the cold weather supplies delivered right to our doorstep. Only about a dozen hours left. The weather was already showing massive fluctuations. Just as the emergency alert said, tomorrow the temperature would drop. Daytime would still be a scorching 40 degrees, but at night, heavy snow would fall. The nighttime temperature would plunge directly to -10 degrees. I looked out the window. Seems the apocalypse is creeping closer. The next day, the courtyard was already packed with no room to stand. The goods were stacked so high they were about to top our roof. Dad crammed 100 tons of coal into 2 rooms, sealed them with cement and bricks, making them airtight. He left only a secret opening to retrieve the coal and covered the outside with weeds to make it look dilapidated. Now, everything was in place. The only problem was the diesel for the generator. It was hard to buy in bulk from outside. Diesel was strictly controlled here, making it nearly impossible to stockpile a large amount at once. The metal drums in the underground fuel depot were still empty. Without diesel, we'd be living in the safe house, in complete darkness. Suddenly, Father picked up his phone. How much diesel do you have left? I'll take it all, don't ask why. I'll pay you double. After the call, late at night, a water truck pulled up to our door. No one got out. And Father didn't say a word. He got on and started pumping the diesel into the underground tank. The sound of diesel pouring in splashed loudly. Suddenly, a figure peeked out. It's so late, what are you guys doing? My heart skipped a beat, and saw it was our neighbor, Ms. Wang. I could only force a smile and brush it off. It's nothing, Ms. Wang. The septic tank's clogged. We're pumping out the waste here. You should head back inside. The smell's gonna rise up any minute. Ms. Wang made a disgusted face, covered her nose and walked away. Not long after, Dad pulled out the fuel hose. All done, he patted the water truck's tank, and as if reading each other's minds, the water truck quietly drove off. We also shut the main gate tight. Back in the yard, looking at all the supplies piled up, and the fuel tank below, now filled to the brim. On the supplies checklist, the last item, diesel fuel, got a check mark. Our supplies are finally complete. My family and I let out a long sigh of relief. Now, even if it's 70 below, for another year, we can survive. I slumped down in the house, opened my phone and scrolled through social media. Got an emergency alert. Starting tomorrow, temperatures will drop to 30 below. Then I saw posts from Su Yao and Gu Ting. On a date at a 5-star hotel, eating fancy meals. The caption read, "Tomorrow, the whole world hits 30 below. Some people, returning from the Arctic, after the crimes they committed against others, are gonna face punishment." I let out a cold laugh, because I'm curious to see, in a few days, if he'll come begging again. 1 week later, in the morning. As usual, we were moving supplies down into the shelter in the yard. After checking the last item, we sat down on the steps to rest. The sky suddenly darkened. The blinding sun vanished in an instant, leaving only a faint glimmer. The cicadas and dogs around us abruptly fell silent. Our family looked at each other. It was as if the whole world had gone quiet. Suddenly, Dad jumped up and shouted, "Get to the safe room." Following our prearranged plan, we quickly ran inside. Dad stayed behind to handle the final tasks. Once the whole family was safely inside, Dad lifted the aluminum alloy door painted to look like wood and slammed it shut. Then, he closed the outermost blast door. Finally, he forcefully turned the winch to seal our last line of defense, the airtight insulated door, with a heavy, resounding thud. We had completed the first step of our post-apocalypse security protocol. Inside the shelter, it was eerily quiet. Only the lights powered by the diesel generator flickered faintly. I pulled out the observation tube of the underground periscope to watch the changes outside. Before entering the shelter, we had purposely placed a mercury thermometer not far from the periscope to monitor the outdoor temperature. The mercury, which had been at 40 degrees Celsius, plummeted rapidly. Within mere seconds, it dropped below freezing. Frost began to form. At the bottom, I adjusted the periscope angle upward. In the sky, snowflakes larger than a hand were falling. To be continued. After 3 p.m., the ground has been raised by dozens of centimeters of snow. The temperature outside has dropped to minus 40 degrees. The entire world feels like being thrown into a liquid nitrogen tank, instantly frozen solid. In the village, a broken broadcast crackles to life. A trembling voice says the weather is too abnormal this year. Every household should do their cold-proofing work. Stay home unless absolutely necessary. Before finishing, the voice cuts out. From the broadcast room comes the sound of something hitting the floor. I peer through the observation port and keep watching. A dark figure is staggering down the road. Looking at him, his thin clothes won't last long. His movements suddenly stiffen. He struggles to pull his leg from the deep snow. After a few attempts, he lies stiffly in a snowdrift. The outside world has become a frozen apocalypse. I take off the periscope and look around the safe room. A sense of comfort washes over me. Inside the finished safe room, the climate is pleasant. Even without lighting a fire, relying on geothermal heat, the indoor temperature stays above 20 degrees. Thanks to the thermal gel coating, the safe room's heat won't dissipate. It can be maintained year-round. By evening, everything was set up. Mom started the gas stove to make dinner. Dad and I grabbed the detector and started checking the airtightness around the place. All the gaps showed normal readings. No air leaks. The concentration, carbon dioxide levels are normal. Mom reached into the coal access port we'd prepared and pulled out a few lumps of coal to start the fire. The exhaust vent had been dug out long ago. The opening was covered with broken bricks and cement blocks all piled together to look like ruins. Now it was covered in snow, impossible for anyone to spot. The coal crackled as it burned in the stove. Dinner was simple today. We had lard noodles with fried eggs and canned luncheon meat. In this apocalypse, it was a feast. Our family ate in silence, just focused on wolfing it down. I turned on my phone. Now, there was still an intermittent signal. On social media, it had gone from everyone showing off their warm homes and good food to wailing and cries for help everywhere. After all, no one had imagined the destructive power of this cold. I was lying on the couch, scrolling through my phone, trying to find rescue information. Suddenly, the AC is cranked up to 30 degrees and I saw you went out to get supplies. Please, you have to come. And I are freezing to death at the hotel. Lin Qian, I saw you went out to get supplies. Gu Ting and I are freezing to death at the hotel. The AC is on 30 degrees and it's doing nothing. Please, come save us. Great, I've been spotted. Su Yao again. But then again, what does it matter if she knows? I'm already in a village out in the countryside, inside a safe house. I replied, no way, and then blocked her. I had just put my phone down when a dull thud echoed through the air. The safe house shook, dust falling from the ceiling. Someone's here, standing right above our camouflaged entrance. My father and I exchanged a look, not daring to make a sound. Luckily, the noise stopped not long after. I signaled for silence and picked up the periscope, slowly rotating it. Looks like it's a group from the village. Hey, Zaiqiang's gang. Seems like things are starting to fall apart out there. They're a bunch of lazy bums with no income. The type who never know where their next meal is coming from. Forget about having any stockpiled food. They're probably out looking for supplies now. Thankfully, they were just passing by, stomped around a bit and left. The internet and all communications are gone too. We're completely cut off. It's more like being in no man's land. And that's when it's most dangerous. No more law and order. No more restraints. People will do anything to survive. Day 4. The temperature outside has reached minus 120 degrees. To save fuel and coal, we can only run the gas heater for 3 hours a day for warmth. The rest of the time, we rely entirely on our sleeping bags. Sure enough, He Zaiqiang and his crew yesterday were just testing the waters. Although they're idle and lazy, they don't dare do anything truly heinous. Today, people in the village started going door to door, knocking and demanding supplies. Through the periscope, I see several people outside, bundled up like dumplings, holding various weapons, smashing the door of Aunt Wang's house, next door. Usually, people are pretty generous about lending things. Stop hiding inside, we'll get in whether you open up or not. With that, they started hacking at the door with an axe. A faint cry from Aunt Wang could be heard. Not long after, several people emerged from her house, each carrying a sack. Each sack was heavy and full. Aunt Wang chased after them, grabbed their sacks, and wailed on the ground. The men turned back viciously, looked at the axe in their hands, and raised it. Aunt Wang let out a howl of agony. After they swung it a few times, there was no more sound. Dragging the axe and sacks, they faded into the distance. On the ground where the axe was dragged, bright red marks were left behind. Father furrowed his brow, wiping down the compound bow in his hands. They'll probably find this place soon. The compound bow in Dad's hands is the only weapon we have to defend ourselves. We camouflaged the smoke vent, but it can't hide the heat and the smell of meat. People who are starving will definitely notice something's off. I was still using the periscope to watch their movements, but as soon as Father finished speaking, we saw them get down on the ground and sniff our vent aggressively, taking deep breaths. It's really hot in here. It smells like meat. Damn it, we've been discovered. I looked back at Father, but he wasn't panicked, because when we designed our safe house, from the start, we already anticipated this day would come. In an apocalypse like this, the biggest threat is other people. They called over 2 more of their gang, bringing shovels and other tools, trying to dig open our ventilation. The moment they touched it, an electric arc flashed. Before we installed the vent, we had already wired the metal sheet with high voltage. It won't kill anyone, but it's definitely enough to shock someone into losing control of their bowels. It's electrified. The Lin family was prepared for us all along. In this sub-zero temperature, they all collapsed into the snow, convulsing, their bodies quickly covered in snow. Before long, the snow turned into a thick layer of ice. The men slowly froze in place. But this is just the beginning. For now, the basic power grid is still holding up. Outside, things haven't completely descended into chaos yet. Watching the snow pile up thicker and thicker, the power lines outside are already getting crushed out of shape. Electrical leaks are starting everywhere. I'm afraid an even bigger crisis will descend come nightfall. When night came, in our village, the entire regional power grid went completely dark. The faint lights from the distant county town, that we could still see, all vanished in an instant. The world plunged into absolute darkness. Our phones, even the last bit of signal was gone. They became completely useless bricks. This also meant that for hundreds of miles around, all contact was lost. Every household became an isolated island. My dad and I together hauled out the diesel generator. With a hard pull, a roar echoed within the safe house's soundproofed room, even with all the layers of soundproofing. But in the silent underground, you could still feel the floor vibrating slightly. I took out that old hand-crank generator. I cranked it hard a few times. It started to emit intermittent crackles of electricity. After constantly trying to tune the frequency, a broadcast came through the radio. This disaster has affected the entire globe. Survivors, please stay where you are and wait. Just then, my mother suddenly ran over in a panic. She pointed to a corner. Her face changed. Lao Lin, look at that corner. Mom suddenly rushed over in a panic. She pointed to a corner. Her face changed. Lao Lin, look at that wall. The wall in the safe room. It's actually covered in frost. Dad went over and touched it. His face turned pale. Oh no, it's completely frozen through. I started to worry. The underground wall is frosted. It means the soil above and around us has already frozen into permafrost. The cold has spread underground. If it freezes further down, The insulation in our safe room probably won't hold up. We took the new thermal gel and applied it bit by bit to the frosted wall. We can definitely make it through these next few days. Back in the city, the world outside has become a giant ice coffin. The once glamorous 5-star hotel. Su Yao, wrapped in a mink coat, was huddled together with Gu Ting. The two were shivering from the cold. Gu Ting tore down the curtains and wrapped them around the two of them. Brother, if we stay here any longer, we'll die. A few days ago, I saw Lin Qian stockpiling a lot of supplies and drove to the countryside. Think of something, quick. Suddenly, a crazed look flashed in Gu Ting's eyes. Drive. Turns out, earlier, Gu Ting had installed a GPS tracker on my car to track my movements. He picked up his phone. My travel route was exposed on the map. Gu Ting suddenly stood up. Let's go find Lin Qian. Gu Ting pulled Su Yao along, and they ran all the way to the hotel's underground parking lot. Because it was deep enough, the garage wasn't completely frozen yet. He started trying car doors one by one. He managed to open an SUV. Gu Ting was overjoyed. After connecting 2 wires, the SUV's engine roared to life. Once inside, they reasoned. Since Lin Qian stockpiled so many supplies, she must have a safe place in the countryside. The SUV shot out of the hotel garage, like a bat out of hell. Gu Ting drove like a madman, ramming through all the abandoned cars and ice sculptures as he sped down the road. The next morning, the sound of screeching tires appeared right outside our house. I hurriedly checked the front monitor. With a heavy thud, an SUV billowing black smoke crashed into the big tree by our gate. The doors opened, and I was shocked. Gu Ting and Su Yao, looking like zombies, crawled out of the vehicle. Seeing our yard, Su Yao and Gu Ting charged forward, like starving wolves, stumbling toward it. But we were already hidden in the cellar. Even if they found the house, it wouldn't matter. Instead, they were spotted by the villagers, which made things even more dangerous for them. Karma's a bitch. I didn't pay them any more mind. I turned back and had dinner with my parents. To keep out the cold, tonight's meal is a high-calorie stir-fry of pork cracklings with Shanghai bok choy, and a pot of spicy beef brisket with lard rice. Our family hasn't had such a lavish meal in several days. Just as we were enjoying it, the buzzer alarm in the safe house went off. Someone's approaching. I went over to look, and my pupils contracted sharply. How could it be Su Yao and Gu Ting? They couldn't possibly know about this place. Sure enough, behind them were the villagers who tried to take Auntie Wang. Birds of a feather. I can't believe they teamed up. Gu Ting's voice carried into the safe house. Lin Qian, I know you're in there. Su Yao told me everything. She saw you at Pang Shilai, stockpiling several truckloads of supplies. I know you guys aren't short on anything, just an extra bowl and chopsticks. In the face of life and death, let's forget our past grudges. That jinx, Gu Ting, to get the villagers to lead the way or spare them. He actually told them everything. Folks, Su Yao shouted to the crowd. They've hoarded a ton of supplies. If we can just smash the door open, everyone can survive. Even with the apocalypse here, this deadweight just won't leave us alone. As soon as she finished speaking, several villagers raised their axes and began raining down blows on the door. The relentless banging on the door continues outside. Inside the safe room, Mother is trembling, clutching tightly to Father's arm. After calming her down, Father puts down his bowl and chopsticks. He calmly walks over to the control panel. He aims for the red button on it and presses it. When we built this safe room, we installed high-pressure water cannons outside the door, in case the door wouldn't open after the apocalypse. In this -70-degree environment, water is the most terrifying weapon. Open the valve. After Father gives the order, I use all my strength to turn the valve. Water instantly fills the high-pressure hose. Jets of water erupt from around the iron door. Screams of agony come from outside. The people banging on the door are drenched. Their clothes instantly freeze stiff like armor. Their hands are frozen solid against the door. The villager at the front, holding a homemade shotgun, doesn't even have time to pull the trigger. The spot where his finger meets the trigger is frozen stiff. He can't bend it at all. Frost creeps up from his fingers. His beard and eyelashes, and even his breath instantly turn to frost. In panic, he tries to cover his face, but his glove sticks to his skin. He can't move. At this moment, Gu Ting suddenly hides behind Su Yao, using her as a human shield. Su Yao struggles to break free, but Gu Ting holds her firmly in place. The spray of water hits Su Yao continuously. Her eyes are filled with disbelief and despair. What are you doing, Gu Ting? Su Yao struggled desperately, but Gu Ting held her shoulders in a death grip. He hid himself behind this trembling woman. His eyes were filled with a desperate will to survive, and pure hatred for us. Don't move. If you get splashed, you die. Since you're in front, you protect me, Gu Ting roared, his voice trembling. Lin Qian, look. I've avenged Su Yao for you. Now open the door. At that moment, Su Yao stopped struggling, but her eyes were still moving. She was completely frozen solid. Her clothes now fit her like a custom-made block of ice. sealing him firmly in place. His face was right up against our peephole. The look in his eyes went from terror and rage to a final, hopeless blankness. The water flow stopped. A few villagers on the ground were still twitching. Gu Ting pushed her away like a madman. He frantically begged me through the peephole, slamming against the iron door. The door, already damaged by the axe, was loose. Combined with the freezing, the metal had become brittle. Gu Ting broke the iron door open. Oh no! Gu Ting looked like a bloodthirsty wolf, panting heavily. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out. Gu Ting fell. The villager's homemade shotgun clattered to the side. My father and I repaired the iron door. Even though I spared Su Yao and Gu Ting, the wicked never spared me. They stood like ice sculptures at the entrance to the safe house. We went back inside. A hopeful voice came from the radio. Emergency measures have been activated for this natural disaster. Signal communications will be restored shortly. Please stay home and await rescue. There's hope. This apocalypse will end. The light will return. We will survive. And we will thrive.